sitting right in front of me, distinguished guests, as well as people who are joined. Some of people I can see 17, 18 people. Some of them have joined on the online platform as well. This is indeed an opportunity to share some of my learnings, and especially for the Sustainable Development Goals, which have been started somewhere in 2015, came to in existence or to be shared by UN. So implementing them is currently in process. So I'm here to share some of my experiences or some of my learnings which I have implemented in the museum and heritage sites in last couple of years. So again, I'm going to welcome all of you and thanks for taking out time for my sharing this and getting this knowledge and learning with me. So agenda of my presentation is introduction about World Heritage Sites and SDGs. Then I'll be talking about the aim and objectives and how to achieve them. That's the main important part where I'll be talking about how to achieve, because that's the area which comes from the experience what I have done in last couple of years. So I'll be beginning with taking your permission, all of you. So the core of this presentation or heritage sector, working from 23 years and now aligning them with the SDGs or Sustainable Development Goals. One thing I have learned that this is, though it's a Native American proverb, we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. I think that is the core. If we keep this in our mind, our practices, our notions, our perspective towards each resource which we are utilizing will definitely be in a different manner what we are doing from last, I would say, after industrialization. So that's from where I want to start. So the core of this whole presentation or the impact of UN SDGs should be this particular quote, that we borrow this earth from our children. We are not owner of these, we are only custodians. So one is that we are talking about the World Heritage Sites here, and of course heritage is also we have got from our ancestors, and we are again just custodian of these heritage sites. So in 1972 this convention was created to declare and tag some of the heritage sites, whether they are natural or cultural, into World Heritage Sites. Now the agenda behind or the objective behind is that these are natural or cultural heritage sites which have been we have received from our ancestors. They do not belong to one community, one geography, or one race, or one caste, or one timeline. So agenda was, or the objective is, that they are shared heritage of the humankind. That's where the whole notion of World Heritage Sites came in. So we have some of them are cultural heritage sites. They are distinguished cultural sites which are shared heritage because they are part and practices of many larger populations from time immemorial. At the same time, we do have natural heritage sites which are I think which are more aligned with our sustainable development goal, because when you talk about heritage sites, we only in one breath we think about humankind, we only think about human race, we think about our boundaries, our religion. But when it comes to natural sites, that's where we need to think about the people, the insects, the trees, the flora, the fauna, aquatic life, which we can see, which we can not see. All that comes when we talk about the natural heritage sites. So I think this encompasses World Heritage Site at first go encompass the whole this whole area of understanding. But it was much more clearer with the SDGs when they are defined in recently in 2015. So these are some of the clips, photos of which I picked up from World Heritage Site across the globe. Till September 2023 is just mere data. So a total of 1199 World Heritage Sites have been already identified and acknowledged. Which out of these 933 are cultural and 227 are natural and 39 are mixed cultural and natural properties. I would like to add here, very interesting, when I was going through these things and I'm teaching and working on this particular subject, working practically on this, there was interesting incident happened when cultural and natural sites were examined and acknowledged and declared. There's a whole process which goes in the UN. The dossier has to be submitted, dossier has to be completed in all the all the criteria have to be fulfilled. But interestingly, in some I think between 1980s or 90s, one important impact or important factor was missing. That was the communities living near the cultural sites or the natural these sites. And that point of time, this was criteria was added. Now again, coming back to the holistic perspective of looking at heritage site, it is very important and crucial to have communities, the native people, be part of this custodian, or be acknowledged that they are the one who have been taking care of these heritage or cultural sites. So this was addition which came at a very later stage. So that makes a lot of difference the moment the community is added. These are some of the sites which are from SAARC countries, and there's data I am just talking about. There are two in Afghanistan, Bangladesh has 3, India is a bigger, larger geography and blessed with the cultural treasure, 42 of them. Nepal has 4, Pakistan has 6, and Sri Lanka has 8. And I think we are looking forward much more to happen and being identified at Sri Lanka, especially and Nepal, because they are very, very rich in culture. As many times I have traveled these two countries, I find there's so much which needs a lot of acknowledgement and kind of grants. So just for the sake of understanding what is the selection criteria of heritage site, because most of the countries we have a lot of heritage or heritage sites or structures lying there. So are they all eligible for being tagged as World Heritage Sites? So is that so? No, it is not like that. There is a certain criteria. So that is called the outstanding universal value, that is known as OUV. If any heritage sites, whether it is cultural or natural, if it has all these parameters, which is it is human creative groups, genius is there, interchange of value is there, testimony of cultural tradition and of development is there, significance in human history of that particular site is there, traditional human settlement. I think this somewhat was there but not missed out when we were filling up the dossiers. Heritage associated with the events of universal significance. It could be any, like birth of Buddha, birth of Christ. These are the humankind's very important events. So these are sites, if they are related to those associated with these events, they are part of the World Heritage Site, or they have this criteria, they fulfill the criteria of outstanding universal value. Natural phenomenon and beauty. Of course, we do have very few areas or interesting areas where some natural phenomena happen. So it is very important to put them in front of the to the global visitor or the global masses, so they can enjoy that natural phenomenon. As the planet Earth, we all belong to planet Earth, and planet Earth belongs to all of us. So in Hindi or in Sanskrit, we have Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which is this earth is my family. So when we say this earth is my family, it does not mean that only humankind. It means whatsoever is above the earth, beneath the earth, it is aquatic or around the earth. A part of that, they are living or non-living, they are statutory or they are moving. They all are part of our family, and we are supposed to respect them and give due respect to them. So this is where we talk about the natural phenomenon. We are blessed with many of them, so those are also part of outstanding universal value. Major stages of Earth history. Of course, this is a geographical, geological survey. India's comes here, and it's very important to understand evolution or development of Earth. How is it happening? That also is considered one of the criteria. Significant ecological and biological processes. Whether it's a change from sea to ocean, how it is happening, what are the changes happening in the aquatic life when they are turning from sea to ocean, they are meeting there. All these are very important for the human life sustenance as a chain of life. It is not, I am talking about that what we eat, what we that roti kapda makan, what you eat, where you live, and how you earn. It's beyond that. It's chain of life. If it is broken, even one species is gone, we are actually hampering our future of our next generations. That's where the ecological and biological processes are important to be included in this outstanding universal value. Significant natural habitats for biodiversity. I think this must be respected, as we have now selected areas where some rhinos live. There are some selected area where the white tiger lives. There are some selected area where the lion lives. So I think that's where it is very important to again keeping that whole holistic approach of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam that has been added as the outstanding universal value. So these are the criteria which, if any of the heritage sites, any of the heritage sites of the world fulfills, they can apply to UN for their status as World Heritage Sites. So now once any site is given this designation that is a World Heritage Site, what happens, what we expect to happen, what UN expected it will happen when the 168 countries sat in UN and they decided to create this World Heritage tag or declaration. They expected there will be a nation building through those sites. They expected that infrastructure development will happen. They expected the tourism will be enhanced, and all this will somewhat reach the economic development. But what has happened actually is we have increased competition between the sites, which is sometimes not even logical. We have aggressive unplanned development happen around these heritage sites, which is not preserving or conserving or making them to be a heritage or to be given to the next generation. Rather, they are somewhere hampering their existence. And hence this tourism also, it is an unplanned footfall. We are not even sure that the moment one site is designated as World Heritage Site, shall we have some kind of a system, how many people, how many masses or how many groups or visitors can visit it. And that also is unplanned, and it is just it happens in instantly, and that is also not in favor of these sites. Economic development, as I mentioned, that has been very recently added, that we must have communities, local communities part of it. But in most of the sites, practically what I have seen, the local communities have been asked to leave. They have been paid a meager amount, and they are made to go away, and those sites have been taken over by big industrialists or people like those. So this is when I look at it from where it started as World Heritage heritage sites, to share the knowledge, to share the heritage, and from where we have reached that is unseen. Instead of pros, we have gone to the cons. So here somewhat in 2015, I believe United Nations has realized and came out with these 17 goals, which possibly are solution to these issues which I just mentioned after World Heritage Sites have been designated. So these are 17 interlinked goals, and very interestingly, if I have to achieve one, I have to at least touch upon 3 or 5. For example, if I have to number one, if I have to pick up no poverty, and then I'll be I am also seeking to achieve zero hunger. I'm also seeking to achieve good health and well-being. I'm also seeking to achieve quality education, gender equality. So just with one, I have to touch upon many. So the idea was interlinked, and how they are also interlinked with heritage, I'll be further discussing. So these are 17. It's a this is very beautifully mentioned that this is a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and the planet through partnership. Up till now, we have only seen in most of the such documents, we talk about prosperity, people, maybe peace, but not planet and partnership. I think this was very important, which was added here, because without planet, we are by doing or taking ownership of, not custodianship of, ownership of these heritage sites, we are destroying the planet, and we are not talking about or not looking at partnership at all. So my second part, which I'm going to talk about, is that how heritage is part of this sustainable development goal, or how we can link these sustainable development goal with World Heritage Sites. So I have picked up some of them, heritage goals, these sustainable development goals, and I have tried to see them how they are befitting to these 4 pillars of SDGs, which is people, peace, planet, and prosperity. So which definitely will happen through partnership. So well-being of people, if I have to start, heritage does not only mean that it is the heritage which is visible, which is tangible. We are talking about, when we are talking about heritage, we are talking about a lot of traditional knowledge. We are talking about a lot of traditional resources. We are talking about a lot of sustainable resources which have been used as traditional methods. So this is what we are looking at. If you want the well-being of people, we should share this knowledge and this resources which are sustainable, and through this we can maintain, preserve, and conserve our heritage, and this will eventually lead to well-being of people. If I go a little ahead, when I'm talking about the knowledge, I'm talking about the crafts, traditional material. All are, interestingly, you pick up any of traditional craft in any country across the globe, you will find they all use sustainable material. None of them will be using plastic. They all use sustainable and native materials. That's very, very important and interesting. Native material is something which is, available very, very naturally to them within their, space of 1.5 hand or 1 hand. So that's where it is. It reduces even the transportation charges or transportation the carbon footprints. So these are very breaking them down is very interesting to see that one SDG can achieve so many altogether. So as I was saying, this knowledge and resources, if they are using these traditional resources, they are using these sustainable resources, they are using their traditional knowledge, how to use their traditional, the native plants, native material, that can, lead to, well-being of people. They can have no poverty, since now we know that, handicrafts are more expensive than whatever is available through the machine-made factories. So they can have, they can achieve no poverty through that. Clean water and sanitation, since most of the our sustainable ways or our traditional ways are more sustainable. We used to have ponds, we used to have rivers, and we never used to pollute them. We never used to put all these this production sewage to them. If we go back to that, of course we will have clean water and sanitation. And at the same time, I would like to connect it with the many other researches where we have found that somewhere 1,000 years ago or 1,500 years ago, we used to have rain harvesting. Whether it is in India, whether it was in Pakistan, whether it is in Sri Lanka, we do have these kind of systems which are known as stepped wells. So these are simple ways which were there. So just that I'm connecting it with the knowledge what we had, which we need to collect and connect and again start working on these. Sustainable communities, of course, these communities, they are working on their crafts, they are utilizing it, they are learning it, then they will have sustainable communities. Sustainable communities or cities, at one point of time in history, most of the countries, they were sustainable when they were not connected globally. So there is a need to go back. There's a need to go back and see those systems, that how they were sustainable, taking very less from each other, yet within their communities, within their geographies, they were able to have healthy lifestyle and sustainable communities. Zero hunger is automatically achieved. Good health and good well-being, I would like to elaborate on in a manner that if we do not harm our environment around us, if we do not pollute our water, we do not pollute our air, do not pollute our soil, I think we will be anyway will be having good health. It's a very simple way to look at it, but I think we need to look at it. That's what we are trying to do here. Quality education. So I've been into education, as Vinda ma'am has mentioned. So very interesting part is most of the people, they think that degrees are education, whereas I think it's important to be to have skills than the degrees. So earlier we never used to talk about degrees, who has degree, who has doctorate, who has masters. We used to talk about what can you do with your hands, what can you learn, what can you do without anybody else. So those are the things I would like to add. Quality education does not mean that I'm sitting on e-learning and I'm doing courses and coursing and having multiple certificates at back of my chair. I would rather like to emphasize on quality education in a manner which makes me independent, which makes me skillful, which has vocational value. So that is and in earlier or in the past we had this kind of education only. Past we had, we will have a person who's doing making clothes, his children will be making clothes and they learn from them. And though we have such communities, thank God we still have some communities like that, we need to promote them, we need to conserve them and preserve them and bring them in front. So interestingly, when we have now institutes which are teaching textile designing, do we need those institutes at all? No, because these people were already existing, these communities were existing. So this is where the quality education I would like to bring. Gender equality, if you look at the heritage or the earlier lives or earlier families, we had more gender equality than what we have now. So I'll give you a very fundamental example, that if whether it is in India, whether it is in Asia, I would like to say, men and women, they used to wear exactly same clothing. There used to be a draped dhoti for men and women both. That is gender equality we are talking about. They wear the same clothes, they wear the same jewelry. They do all the works which men can do and women can do. So this is the gender equality we are talking about, which seems to be we have lost within maybe 200 or 500 years. We have lost that gender equality. The first thing is objectifying of women. That is very biggest fear, or biggest nowadays what to say, reason for women to not work or come out of work and feel unsafe. So this the gender equality does not mean only what they wear, but what they wear that used to make them safe, because they were considered equal as men. So this is where I am talking about gender equality, and of course that will lead to well-being of people right here. Of course, we do have inscription and literature which talks about artisans who were ladies, architects who were ladies, females. We also have poets and even the sages who were females. So if we have to look at the highest stature given, these were the sages or seers. So we do have across the world those sages and seers and prophets who were like females. We need to connect with the heritage. That's what I am trying to say here. Well-being of the planet. Now this is another approach. If we go try to do that, we take culture and nature as an approach for landscape based solutions. So this is where we come as the planner, or comes the role of rectifying what we have already destroyed. So we need to establish or redo some of the cities which are in real creating a lot of CO2, or creating a lot of water waste, or creating a lot of pollution in the water. I think that is going to where the planning of these new cities or existing cities replanning will lead to life on our land. When we are trying to attach them with the heritage, we are trying to say that these cities which are heritage cities or which are not heritage cities, but if they need this kind of relook, it has to be done. Of course, we are looking at clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy. Interestingly, the planner sir is sitting here, is an urban planning expert. So earlier we never had this requirement of energy, so much energy. We might require for some air and for some light, but the amount of energy nowadays we consume is unbelievable. So there is a need to look into, I would like to say, especially in the heritage site and museums, we need to look at the alternate energy systems. For example, solar energy, wherever it is possible. If we are in a plain area where the lot of sun is there, we should utilize the solar energy. There are areas like tropical environment like Sri Lanka. We should look at rain harvesting or hydro electricity. We can also look at the wind energy wherever it is possible. I have seen in China there are a lot of wind energy systems are there. So these are actions. These actions need to be taken as a remedy what we have already spoiled. This is where I would like to add, instead of burning coal or utilizing other materials and creating energy and making CO2 in the air. Climate action, of course, this all add to climate action, where we are taking care of air, water and soil. This will add to climate action. Taking care of the species which are getting extinct. I was just having a discussion with Mrs. Mandara, and she was saying Sri Lanka, we don't see certain birds, we don't see butterflies. So by doing so, we might not be missing, just it's not an aesthetic or a pleasure experience. We are actually breaking the chain of life. We do not know how much we are hampering in the end. So that we need to see. The pollination will not happen properly if the bumblebees are not there in Europe. So these are the issues we need to address, and heritage sites are such areas where we can implement. See, these are the public areas. They are in the purview of governments. They are in purview of major grants. If we can add these actions there, they will not only have direct results, direct product we will get out of it. Also, it will make aware others why it is happening and what they should do. Prosperity is very simple to say that everybody is within their within their means they are working, within their means they are getting their payments, the equal payment system is there, then prosperity will be there. But yes, here I would like to rather impact on the, or give a more emphasis upon the responsible consumption and production. So I can give you an example of responsible consumption and production. Here is that what we are doing with our mobiles. Are we aware about what we are doing with our mobiles? We buy mobiles, we update our mobiles. Where this e-waste is going? It is getting collected in all the on the earth. They are buried under the earth, and this is where we need to understand: is it responsible production or consumption? Are we adding it to as earth, as our heritage? This is the heritage we are creating. Are we creating this heritage of big piles of e-waste, big piles of even the largest polluter on the earth right now is what we all use, every one of us, that is clothes. That's the second largest polluter. So I would like to talk about here that can we achieve this through responsible consumption and production. It's very ironic if I'm talking about peace here. 4 countries in war. That what we have expected that we will achieve peace in 2015. We talked about it, but this is very it's very ironic and painful to see countries going to the war. How do I actually talk about it? It's very difficult that intellectual development has led us to wars, whereas it should have led us to peace. So I just hope and wish and pray that we have peace and we can have this dialogue of peace through heritage and social cohesion instead of these killing people, innocent civilians. Partnership again, I'm happy that especially I was very delighted when I came here as SAARC Cultural Center to work with under Madam Deputy Director, because this is where we all have opportunity to collaborate, share, and have partnership to understand heritage, to keep this heritage alive for our coming generations. Of course, heritage is one of the medium, very important medium, which can always fulfill these two goals of partnership and sustainability. As we cannot understand, we can never understand heritage without partnership. That's what I have learned throughout these 23 years. If I do not collaborate across the globe, I will not be understand what heritage stands for. I will be having a half-baked knowledge. So I think heritage brings very important this aspect of partnership, collaboration, and sharing. What are the aims and objectives we want to fulfill? Through this World Heritage tag, which was as I mentioned, this was the earlier ones, but now when we have SDGs, we have redefined them and expanded them so we can at least follow the right path. So when we are talking about now World Heritage Sites, we are looking at that environment. We should not be with the less harmful actions in those heritage sites. Respect the nature and biodiversity, that what we are expecting. So World Heritage Sites, whatever work is going on right now, or the the dossier or the criteria, that also include these things, that respect of nature and biodiversity. So those data are also needed when we are going for tagging of these sites. Use of sustainable materials. I'm very happy and delighted when I went to Anuradhapura and there was I think 3 kilometers away I was asked, you cannot take plastic bottle inside. That was such a wonderful step. That was amazing, and I think that these kind of steps should be added to all the World Heritage Sites. And they didn't allow anything you can carry inside. There was nowhere where you can buy those plastic packets of chips or something. That was a wonderful step. So I think that we need to do it. That's where and then we are saying GHG emission reduction, any kind of emission which is polluting the air, we need to reduce that. Resource efficiency, that requires a lot of scientific inquiry into this, that we should have that. Green infrastructure, as I mentioned, green materials, not only the energy, green materials like wood and bamboo, which are available within the native areas, they should be utilized when we are talking about World Heritage Sites. At least they can stand as examples to rest of us, that we should be using this kind of material, and the green material is sustainable and can give you equal luxury than just what we use nowadays, mortar and brick. When we are talking about culture, we are expecting to respect for local culture and religion and diversity. As I mentioned, this was missed at some point of time when the World Heritage Tag was established earlier. After 20 years, this, the local community, respect for local community was added later on. Multicultural and interfaith tolerance, I think whatever is happening in the earth on this planet, we really need to do that. That multicultural and interfaith tolerance is much needed. Promotion of traditions, customs and rituals. Now this is somewhere the heritage sites are they are part of it. They are living example of these things, and they are the right place to promote such tradition, customs and rituals. So workshops, programs, research, all needs to be done in these areas. Economy, benefit the local economy. As I mentioned in past, wherever these heritage tags or the World Heritage sites have been identified, we have seen these are not the local people who have benefited. These are the people who are industrialists or whatever other people have benefited. So the intent here is, when we are applying or when we are taking care of or conserving these places or making it available to the people, the benefit should go to the local economy or local people. Local prosperity should be number one into that. So if they are not happy, it means somewhat we have already damaged the local community and local traditions, which we were supposed to. The aim was to promote and preserve that local community, local heritage, and in place we have damaged that. Employment opportunity to the local people, that is very important factor nowadays. Way to connect nations and cultures. So not only to the local, I would say the word local comes here, wherein you connect the local to the global. Better quality of life. When we are talking about better quality of life, I understand we are talking about the communities who are custodian or who are living near these heritage sites. They should be given the preference. Social aspect is cooperation with local inhabitants, community well-being, inclusion of minority, younger and female groups. I would add other genders also should also be given this space. Now, how to achieve these things? It looks very interesting to look at them. We need this, we do this, but if there is any way we can achieve it. So these are some of my learnings which I have started and have done. There are 3-step approach I have used, which is awareness, like meeting people, sometime formally, sometime informally, giving them awareness about heritage and SDGs. This requires people and partnership, definitely, whether they are local groups or they are formal groups, but meeting them. Then assessment and action requires all the 4 things, which is planet, people, prosperity and partnership. So assessment of planet, what is the condition of that particular site. Assessment of people, the community, what they are doing, how they are doing. How can we generally we go to local communities. I was really taken aback when in one of my experience we went to local communities and we are trying to tell them, you do this, and when they sat and talked about their lifestyle, I was taken aback that we have so much to learn. We always go to teach them. We never think we can learn something from them. So I think that's very important. That's where the partnership comes, that I would expect every time that a professional goes from these elite colleges and professional bodies, they should be open for learning than teaching. So this is what my personal learning is. I learned a lot from them. So that assessment is very much required. What knowledge do they have? What information do they have? We are just talking from the library books. We are not talking from the ground. So though that is very important. The action also is action should be related to people, what they want. These are the stakeholders. If we do not talk to them what they want, we may do something which they may not align with. Planet, of course, that has been added to that. Prosperity will come with that, and partnership, of course, we need. Next slide is okay. So areas of focus. What are the areas of focus? Is definitely whenever we look at any model, we want to keep it going or sustain it, make it sustainable. We definitely have to look at the revenue of the site. These are the few areas, whether they are tagged as heritage sites or they were earlier tourist site or now they are tagged. We need to look into the revenue of the site, how and what it is coming. We need to look at the visitors, because accordingly we will be planning to address these SDGs, address the preservation of heritage site through these SDGs depending upon the visitors. So we have to definitely have a data about that. Native communities, they are definitely the first stakeholders who should be giving us lessons what to do. Traditional crafts, they should be part of whatever the these even whether it is Anuradhapura, whether it is Bodh Gaya, whether it is Gandhara. We don't see these sculptors making those sculptures around those areas. So those traditional crafts, we see them as what I see, they are frozen in time, but we don't see them happening in life. So those things, I believe, they needs to be brought into life when we are talking about traditional occupation. I'm very happy, and I always feel it's a proud moment when I look at Ela Bhojanalaya. It's such a wonderful example that the traditional occupation which a woman can cook, and she's cooking with the sustainable materials, she's cooking with the fresh whatever they have grown organically, and then serving you fresh just like that. These are traditional occupation. We need to work more upon such kind of opportunities and such kind of solutions. Consumption of utilities like energy, water, fuel. This is very important area for even if we want to make any building green, or any structure we want to talk about, we are creating a green structure, we need to look into it. Energy, water and fuel. Carbon footprint is if we have local transport which can be used by anyone, then we can have carbon footprints, low carbon footprints. Solid waste generated, wet waste generated. These are the areas I'm just telling you, and how we'll be utilizing, I'll come to that. E-waste generated, energy efficiency, variety of flora, variety of fauna, quality of soil. Oh, I must tell you, I started one soil research center in India, and we collected all 700 types of from different districts. And when the data was released, we were shocked. The nutrition of the soil is very low, and that what we are eating, the cultivation from that low nutrition soil. So we are simply avoiding the most important, or ignorant of the most important part. We are good at taking medicines, but not making this soil healthy so it can give healthy food. Air quality, noise level, water table, aquatic life, temperature versus humidity, weather conditions. Now these all are the 20 focus areas which I take as when I'm giving a report to any building or any heritage site for making it sustainable. Now there is a simply a framework has been established with help of lot of stakeholders, and I'm sharing, and I'm thankful to them that they have helped me in coming up with this sustainable development framework. So we need to have strategies and policies. Policies are at a larger level, which are maybe overarching all the strategies. The strategies we are talking about that we must have in any of these heritage sites. We should have cross-functional sustainability team. So right now we have most of the time we have curators, we have maybe civil engineers, we may have some of the historians, subject matter experts, but we do need people who come from the environmental science. We do need people who come from public health side. We do need people who are coming from the traditional craft side. So this all has to be for each site specific cross-cultural team has to be established, so that site remains sustainable and has that continuity forever. Conduct a sustainability assessment of current practices. Now whatever the heritage sites are, as I given the last 20 parameters, these parameters if we have to examine, and we can come to the what are the sustainability status of that particular heritage site, or the natural site, or the cultural site. Execute pilot tests for sustainable products and services. As I mentioned, Radhapura is doing full-fledged that no plastic. So we can have these kind of, now it is a successful pilot, so we should replicate it in most of the heritage sites. So so those sites are plastic free. If we can have one site plastic free and it has been accepted and successful with the masses, I think it should be replicated. So this is one of the example. Develop sustainability criteria for vendor selection also. So whatever they we need to buy things, whatever things we are buying, whether it's paper, can we buy recycled paper, can we buy more recycled products, whether it's a bag, whether it's a gift you give to someone, or souvenir you give to someone, could it be a traditional craft only? So this kind of criteria we need to create. Implement green contracts. Now green contracts are like whosoever you are buying the products, or for example you are buying paper for someone, so you take a contract with them that you take these papers and recycle and create some other product, and we will buy that. This is one of the example of green contracts which I did. There are many of them, but this is one of the example. Policies at policy level, which is at a very high level, we want to have a climate action policy for all these heritage sites. They need to be specifically looked in. So I can relate it with the Ajanta site. So if you go to Ajanta right now, Ajanta, the great Buddhist caves, the river is almost, it's very thin. It's very thin. So the whole atmosphere was meditative, was meant for meditation, for touching the highest plane, because of that greenery, because of that river, because of that rain. Now all that is gone. So the moment you take out that art from that context, that art or that that architecture does not have that impact. So this is where the climate action policy is required for such heritage sites. That for a certain site which was completely full of biodiversity, if that has not been taken care, it is I would say that half of the impact is gone, or half of the experience is lost. So that we need to take care of that. Sustainability training, of course, we all have been trained and professional, but few sustainability trainings as per the heritage site or the particular customized training needs to be given to the staff. Then we can have short-term plans, which is water audit, waste audit and green committee establishment. Waste is very important. How we are how much waste we are making. Are we making wet waste? Are we making dry waste? And where it is going for processing. These are the audits required for World Heritage Sites, because I do see a lot of dustbins are made of plastic. That is another pain point. And sometimes they are made of animal faces. That is more pain point, because we are not respecting the biodiversity. So that should not happen. So this waste audit is very important. How much waste we are creating, and I think this data, if it is part of monthly meetings of organizations, it can change the mindset that how much waste they are creating. Concrete actions for source reduction and reuse. As I mentioned that, can we talk about a simple example? Even our as I mentioned that that we can use reused even clothes. We can use them. We can use them for many purposes within the heritage sites, but we don't use them. Like for the flags, example flags. Now, if they are deteriorated, what we are going to do them? Are we going to put them in the earth and just create another, huge pile of pollution? No. Can we use them in some other way? Can we create, some interesting craft piece out of those? It's a beautiful cloth. Can we do it? Or can we do something, or we can create another smaller thing or something. Anything which is, used already, can we reuse them? And anyhow, respectfully. Waste management supplier selections, of course, as I mentioned that they should not be piling it up in the earth. Are they able to, process in a manner that they are not creating pollution, whether it is water, are they throwing it in the rivers, are they burning it off, or are they just putting them in the earth? All three are very important, and all three are leading to pollution. So we really need to look into these things very carefully. Create a green corner. These are green corners are for awareness purposes, where we can create green corner for the students who are coming to visit the heritage sites. Even for first time visitors, they can understand what a green corner is, what is green, what is sustainable. Performance monitoring and incentivizing, of course, performance monitoring of the whole site, that how it has performed during the sustainability when a particular element has been changed or has been created for sustainability. For example, if energy from the regular energy we have shifted to solar energy, how much we have reduced the pollution, CO2, how much revenue we have generated through that, because solar energy generally comes that if you put it for 2 years, 30 years onwards, you have a zero bill. The revenue, your ROI gets equal within 2 years. Whatever you have spent on establishing the solar energy panels, it actually come to zero because the bill is not there. You are not paying bills. So that is done. So we can do this performance monitoring, changing of what we have changed and how much we have been benefited from that. Medium term plan is zero waste event hostings, like we are doing that. We can do it with the students, we can do it with multiple groups, we can do these zero waste events. Vendor management, adopting sustainable practices, guidelines empowering employee to practice sustainability. Like as the training is done once to the employees, we can also put one of the KRA or KPA that are they doing it, and if they are doing it, we can give them incentive. Long-term plans are develop a green policy, reduce single-use plastic, as I just mentioned, it's very, very important. Install energy-efficient lighting, promote eco-friendly restaurants, conduct recycling workshops, and all this. These are long-term plans. If we can, these can be used, utilized by anyone, any point of time. The earlier one, they have to be, these have to be site specific. We have to think about it and we have to come to them. But this long term, which I have mentioned here, generally they can be done at any site. So steps to achieve SDGs. There's a long list. I think I will not be going to that. I'll just share this. Monitoring the data, whatever energy, or as I have mentioned, these 20 areas. For these 20 areas, if we are monitoring the data, we are having the tools to change it. We have target scorecard. We need to create a target scorecard once we monitor the data. For example, right now, this one of the building, I can take any building, is consuming 500 watts of electricity. I would change it to solar, and I will say now I will reduce it to 200. So these are the target scorecards to be made by these green committees, or the sustainability, as I said, the cross-functional teams which will be created. They will create this kind of a date scorecard. So you keep a target. How much you will achieve, that can be seen every month, every year, every 6 monthly. But this kind of scorecard has to be created. Then accordingly, when the scorecard for all these 20 areas, or out of we take 5 or 4 out of these, we create a scorecard, and then we take an action plan. What are the actions we can take to reduce or change, channelize, and make these World Heritage sites better and sustainable? And then we implement it. Again, we monitor the data, and we keep reworking on this until and unless we reach our targeted plan of making that any site sustainable and green. So these are actually I have talked about these all. I saw these 45 minutes are already done, so I am just keeping with my time. This is one of the sample action plan which we created for a museum. I am sharing it here. This is in the process right now. So that's my whole presentation, that we can create our heritage sites with help of rather local community sustainable materials. We can make them sustainable, green, and of course hand over to our next generation in a much better way what we have received from. Thank you.